Now, if it's okay with you, I'm going to assume something this morning. I'm going to assume that lots of you are married. Is this correct? Are there Catholic people here listening to me? Yeah. All right. Is it? Now, it's cold, I know. Now, I want you to be able to respond here. You know how we do this. You know, our dialogue that goes on. This is important because you help me out with this. So, wouldn't you have had that kind of option for your wedding? Everybody went home with a gallon of wine. Think of that. There has been no party of wedding people been as happy as that one. Now, this wonderful story, there's a couple of things, of course, I would like to point out to you. And I know you're anxious to hear them. Is that correct? Yes. I am so pleased. I'm so pleased in this new year. Now, the first thing is, this is a wedding feast. So it is not about a person who is sick, who died, who has a devil, who has an infirmity. None of that is present. It's a wedding, and he doesn't, and the mother notices this, Mother Mary, and she doesn't want the bride and groom to be embarrassed. Kind of an important thing. In life, we could say, okay, it could happen, and then a few years down the road, nobody's going to remember it. But in this case, Jesus takes time. Now, the words that he uses towards his mother seem kind of curt. Now, I say this every year when this comes up. It is not the case. You know, you could picture Jesus saying, Mom, let's hold off this a little bit. Just hold off here, just a little bit. But that's not what happens. And the key is that Jesus and the disciples and the Mother Mary rejoice with this couple, spare them an embarrassment, even though it was not a life-threatening miracle. Do you understand what I'm saying here? It's not a life-threatening miracle, but it's so important because it's showing that Jesus, first of all, came to be with us in those important aspects of our lives and to be a part of it. That's what it shows. The second thing it shows is that Jesus is both God and man, because he comes into this feast like everybody else, dressed, yet he performs this miracle, and the disciples, when they see that, of course, they're delighted because they're saying, we're never going to be thirsty again. They said, this is going to be a great run, great run. So they see this, what's happening, and as they experience it, that Jesus has this power that he can make simple water into wine. Now I'm going to step aside a little bit of disclosure here. I have not reached that level yet. The last time I practiced, I ended up with 40 barrels of vinegar. The people were not happy with me. Just a little disclosure. Now back to the real story. Now, when the disciples recognized who Jesus was, and that in this simple ceremony of the wedding and the get-together of the families, they experienced something about God that they would have never experienced before, or even thought or expected. Who would have ever imagined that the God of the universe would come to your wedding personally? Who would ever think about that? Wasn't even near their minds. The next point. Jesus shows as God and man that he wants to be involved and I've mentioned this to you before, in the very fabric of our life. Notice at this wedding, Jesus did not become the star. He did not. It was the couple. Now, people knew a little bit about the wine afterwards, but during the whole process, it isn't Jesus who is focused on. It is this couple who are saved from embarrassment. If this God who cares for us and loves us in such a powerful way is willing to save us from embarrassment, how much more will he do when we open our lives to that presence? And that's another reason why I use this phrase over and over again with you. Jesus shows what it means to do one loving act at a time, and the power that that loving act can have. Through all of the ages and all of the things that Jesus did on this earth, the recorders of this, inspired by the Holy Spirit, took this message and copied this down verbatim so that you could see the intimacy of Jesus with people. They wanted to carry that across. The other aspect, of course, they wanted to make sure that this is God doing this as well as Jesus, the man. That this is God's special, powerful kind of love for each one of us. So as we go forward, remember this simple feast, that God is interested even in the smallest aspect of our lives. And it's important for us as Christian Catholics, people who believe, people who practice, that you continue and notice what it says. Mary, Joseph, the disciples were invited. Every day we invite God to be a part of our lives. To first say thanks and praise, acknowledge that presence, and then commit ourselves, just like Jesus did in this story, to do one loving act at a time and one after another. As you know, where there is love, there is God, no matter how small the act. When we do that, we make this story come alive and have real teeth and real depth, because we're aware that God is involved in our lives, even in the simplest of forms.